I wanted to do a short video on condition 3, one-handed drawing, racking, and firing. I'm going to go slowly through the technique so that you guys can go ahead and practice this at home. Definitely dry fire practice is the key to getting this down safely and remotely quickly. If you try to do this live fire on the range for the first time, you'll probably kill yourself. So first thing you'll need are some snap caps. That's inert rounds that will allow your guns slide to action as opposed to just locking back on an empty mag. Get yourself some safe snap caps, load them into your mag, clear your room of ammunition, you're good to go. Starting with your normal draw, what I like to do is, just as you would with a chambered gun, you're going to clear your garment, grasp your weapon, and this is where your draw would change from a standard carry. Now you're going to meet your hand to the top of your slide while orienting your gun along that 90-degree axis. So at this point, you'll drive your right hand forward and your left hand back, and you're chambered. And because you're at that 90-degree axis, you can begin firing right from there, one-handed, if need be, or from a retention position here. Otherwise, you would meet, rack, and then your hands are going together like this as you're going to full extension. For the sake of dry fire practice, now I'll usually drop my mag just a little bit, catch it with my pinky, rack my round out, and I am back to an empty chamber for my next round of practice. One-handed draw, pretty similar. You're going to omit your support hand for racking. So you're going to have to rack it off of an item in your environment. The most expedient one is going to be your belt or holster system. If for some reason those aren't available or easy to access, you can always rack it off of something on the ground. Just because of my camera angle, I can't show you that right now. But for one-handed drawing and racking, it's going to depend on the features of your gun. I've installed aftermarket sights on this particular pistol so that I have a nice 90-degree bevel there. That allows me to catch it simply on my belt, or where I like to, a little closer to my holster where my belt is fully supported. And I'll just drive down, and I'm in. Certain guns will have a somewhat sloped rear to their rear sights, and that'll make it basically impossible to rack off with your rear sight. You'll just feel it slipping. The technique that I found for that, I'll show you here with my Smith & Wesson shield. Also, snap caps. So with this gun, I can also rack off of those rear slides, same idea. Prior to changing to aftermarket sights on this, however, it did have sloped rear sights and I was not able to. So the technique that I developed for that is actually driving off of the clip on my holster. You can just use your belt. You can see I've driven off of this hundreds of times. You can use your belt, but the stiff resistance of the Kydex holster makes it much more reliable. So you'll grasp the gun, clear the garment, grasp the gun, draw. You're only going to draw out enough so that you can meet your front sight post with the clip of your holster and drive forward, and you're in. And when you're first dry fire practicing, it's going to be pretty slow, and it's going to be pretty unreliable, maybe. When you get better at it, you can be consistently reliable hitting that clip. Support hand is another challenge, but really the challenge of that is the same as when you are carrying with a round in the chamber. It's the initial grasping of the firearm that is difficult. Otherwise, racking the firearm proceeds just as it did with your primary hand. So you would be clearing, and depending on your own ergonomics and flexibility, I like to immediately establish my proper grip, draw, and then rack down, and you're on. Some people I know have some flexibility issues there, so I believe that the best option for them is to draw, place the gun in their knees, grasp, and then rack. And again, I didn't have a snap cap in there, so you'll see what happens there is it actually locks back. That's the reason for the snap caps. Two fine details to pay attention to. As with always handling your gun, fingers off the trigger until you're ready to fire. This is particularly important when you're carrying with no round in the chamber and racking one-handed, because that gun is going to be pointed towards some very important parts of your body. So you're going to finger off the trigger and you're going to go through your motion. The other important thing that you may be able to catch on there is that this gun is not oriented directly towards my groin or my stomach. It's actually always got a cant. As soon as it clears my holster, a cant away from my body, and that will allow me to rack safely away. Still, my finger's off the trigger. Even if it were pointed at my body, I'm safe, but better safe than sorry. With the front post method, that's also the case. You'll be driving like that at an angle where the gun is oriented away from your body and drive into that post. That's the basics of what I feel is absolutely essential for anyone carrying Condition 3, and truthfully those methods work for chambered carry as well. If you need to reload, if you have a malfunction, being able to single-handedly rack off of your belt or other objects in your environment is critical, so teach yourself.